so I'm going to try and make this video with as little bias as I possibly can. Alright. I often see the whole creationist versus, there is no God debate. I often see this debate, and of course, nobody wins. Because it's one of those things that we haven't proven how the earth was created, or whether or not there is or isn't a God yet. We just simply haven't, and this is why I don't think we will until there's definite proof of the way the earth was and the universe was created. But even then, I don't know if it would change. I think in the end, there may be no point there may be no point ever where we can truly say, well, there's no entity that may or may not be 100% real, of which has the power and or science to create a universe. I think whether or not we find the truth about how the universe is created, I don't think it matters, because I think parallels could be drawn anyways. In the end, whether you have nothing but science or nothing but ideology, parallels will be drawn no matter what. There will always be one side saying, hey, there's no such thing as gods, and there's no such, and then there'll be another side that's saying, hey, there's no such thing as the Big Bang, or string theory, or M theory, or earth theory, or whatever. And I think that while I think they're both equally wrong or correct. Okay, I can't say whether one of them's wrong or one of them's correct, and I don't want to, because I can't prove it. I have no verifiable 100% evidence. We don't know enough for me. I don't know enough for me to say for myself, hey, there is or isn't a God or gods and such. But I guess my dog in this fight is I guess the narrow-mindedness of people. I actually kind of honestly see, I guess, parallels between these two sides of the arguments, and they're kind of just fighting and arguing the same points as the others arguing against what the others arguing. See, what I find fascinating is that both the creationists and the evolutionists, they have this amazing propensity to believe one thing without any sort of deviation or giving it any sort of, oh, I might be wrong or might not know the full picture yet. They act like the science or the beliefs that they hold are already 100% complete, and we know they're not. We know there's still tons of things we need to learn about evolution, and tons of things we need to learn about, science in general, before we can discredit things like that. I mean, let me talk specifically about a point that I see in the evolutionist sort of thing. They, I do think this is kind of funny. They often say, well, it's almost impossible that we could possibly be the same, the only life on the planet, and that there are likely extraterrestrials and stuff. And I think it's amazing that they can have faith like that. Now, mind you, they do have the whole evidence thing and whatnot, but that's where I think both sides don't see any sort of parallel, and I absolutely do. See, because the creationist side of things, they often don't think of science as a factor at all, and the evolutionist side of things often believe that if you believe in the creationism aspect, that you don't believe in that you're wrong, that it can't have any place in evolution or science at all. But I mean, that's the thing. They both believe in these entities that, for all we know, like, that's the thing. Aliens and gods, extraterrestrials and gods, other living beings and gods, these things might be synonyms for all we know. Our religions date back thousands of years before we knew anything about science at all. For all we know, it's very possible that these things we call extraterrestrials are these gods that we, subjectively named them, this simply for lack of understanding of what they actually were. They might be incredibly scientific beings, but, again, I'm trying to be as little biased as possible. I'm not trying to add some theory in here. I'm trying to critique the whole, one side or the other mindset. I don't think we have enough information to decidedly, at least objectively, believe 100% one or the other, unless we're willing to claim, yeah, it's ideology. Because we can't prove it either way. So I think we may or may not have gods. And I think we may or may not have extraterrestrials. I think they may or may not be the same. I think we definitely don't know whether or not any of these things are true. For 100% sure. I think we should be, I want to say open-minded, but not to the point where we're willing to accept what someone else says. But to the point where we're willing to think, you know what, let's put a page in it, and we'll let the future decide who the hell knows what, okay? And I often, now the whole creationist side of things. Now, given that, these documents were written thousands of years ago, if not more for some religions, I'm gonna call it like it is. There's probably some things lost in translation. We probably don't have the full story on any religion. There's plenty of rulers in history who most likely had a huge hand in editing our source material, whether it's the Bible or the Quran or any other sort of religious text. People in power often change things that in order to indoctrinate their people or spread something they believe. So I think it's very, very possible that these gods, whether or not they are scientific beings or extraterrestrials or supernatural entities that, exist, in our hearts or whatever, I think we might be, in a sense, fools to believe that, or fools to take everything we see in as face value. There are, it's one of those things, you have evolutionists working with a incomplete manual, going off of a manual that's chapters have not been finished writing yet. And then you have creationists who are going with a very, very possibly heavily edited, doctored version of a story of what may or may not be the same things that, representing the same things that evolutionists believe are life outside of our own. So I think, I'm not saying, adopt other people's beliefs. I'm simply saying, I'm not even saying, you have to accept this as reality or something, or as a possibility. I'm saying, I don't think this argument between evolutionists and creationists will fruit any sort of revelation. I think you might win, one or the other to one side. You might convert someone, whether it be to the evolutionist side or the creationist side, but in the end, I don't think, I mean, while you might convert someone, I don't think it'd be with anything other than basically subjective opinions being used by pseudo-logic and scientific logic that's been taken to fit a narrative. So that's why I think it's a fruitless effort. We don't have the knowledge or the understanding of our universe to 100% say whether or not the evolutionists or the creationists are correct. So I think we should just put a page in the entire debate altogether, because we don't have proof. And with so many possibilities science has to offer, we don't know if these things we call gods aren't the same things these evolutionists are calling extraterrestrials. So, thanks for watching. Bye.